Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something really fascinating and honestly totally misunderstood. We're unpacking the psychology behind men who intentionally choose to live solo. If you've ever wondered why someone would just opt out of the standard relationship timeline, or hey, maybe you're living this lifestyle yourself, you're going to find these insights incredibly eye-opening. We're pulling straight from psychological observations to see what's really going on beneath the surface. Let's get right into it. So, picture this scenario. What if a man lives alone? No girlfriend, no wife, literally no one waiting for him at home. For decades, our default social narrative has painted a pretty gloomy picture of this, right? People see a guy coming home to an empty house and, well, they immediately jump to some pretty wild conclusions. Society almost instantly assumes he's lonely, terrified of commitment, or just somehow failing at life because he hasn't found the one. But actually, scratch that. Psychology reveals a totally different reality. Instead of being broken, we're looking at a life of deep independence, profound personal peace, and intense purpose. There's a lot more going on here than meets the eye. Let's start with Section 1, the stigma of solitude. Moving right into Section 2, mastering true independence. You see, living solo isn't just a living arrangement. It's a whole psychological framework. A man living alone handles absolutely everything. We're talking the day-to-day grind, cooking, cleaning, paying the bills, doing the laundry, and honestly, making every single life decision without a sounding board. Over time, doing all of this single-handedly builds an incredible psychological comfort and self-reliance. They aren't just barely surviving out there. They're becoming highly proficient at managing their own existence. And here's where it gets really interesting. This intense level of independence fundamentally shifts the relationship with romance. It's not that these men don't want love. Many still genuinely do, but they absolutely do not depend on it just to function. They've become completely self-sufficient. They don't need someone to complete them, simply because, well, they've already done the hard work of completing themselves. That brings us to Section 3, protecting personal peace. This profound self-reliance naturally leads to them fiercely guarding their internal and external peace. Once you've built a calm environment entirely on your own terms, you definitely don't give it up easily. By setting up reliable routines, quiet evenings, total freedom over their schedules, uninterrupted time for hobbies, and deep focus on work, they create massive emotional stability. Psychologically, we get deeply attached to routines that make us feel safe, so they become incredibly protective against anything that might threaten that carefully curated balance. Next up is Section 4, purpose over partnership. This brings us to a huge realization. These guys aren't avoiding relationships entirely. They're avoiding the wrong relationships. When you have high standards for compatibility, you know that staying single longer is way better for your emotional health than forcing a partnership that just doesn't fit. They realize that being alone and at peace is a million times better than being with someone and constantly feeling misunderstood or drained. It's a no-brainer for them. So what happens to all that energy if it's not being poured into dating apps? Instead of desperately seeking a partner to feel whole, they channel all that drive into building their own identity. They focus heavily on career advancement, crushing personal goals, diving deep into creative work, and relentless self-development. They aren't just sitting around passing the time. They are actively building a rich, multifaceted life. When you find that kind of profound purpose in other areas, something beautiful happens psychologically. It totally removes the suffocating pressure to find fulfillment only through romance. For these men, love becomes this wonderful, welcome part of life, but it's no longer the absolute center of their universe. It's a bonus, not the whole shebang. Now for Section 5, solitude is not loneliness. Okay, this right here is perhaps the biggest misconception out there. Psychology makes a crystal clear distinction that we all need to understand. Being alone is merely a physical situation. It's literally just being in a room by yourself. Feeling lonely, on the other hand, is a negative emotional state. They are fundamentally different things. You can be in a packed room and feel incredibly lonely, or you can be entirely by yourself and feel perfectly content. In fact, a lot of the men who choose to live alone genuinely love their solitude. They're not just staring blankly at the walls. They're actively using this time to read, work out, master complex new skills, or just sit, think, and recharge their social batteries. It proves a vital point. Their happiness doesn't just evaporate the second everyone else leaves the room. Their joy is generated from within. And finally, Section 6, a conscious lifestyle choice. Ultimately, we really need to reframe how we view the solo male lifestyle. We've got to stop seeing it as some kind of default failure and recognize it as a conscious, purposeful choice. And the reasons are super personal. Some guys are taking time to heal from the past. Others are laser focused on their goals. Some just flat out love the pure independence it brings. And others, they're just patiently waiting for a relationship that actually fits their life, rather than rushing into one out of fear. Whatever the reason, it's a deliberate path, not a sign that they're emotionally unavailable. Our source material sums it up perfectly. Once you understand those hidden patterns, you'll stop judging people by appearances and start understanding them instead. When we peel back those psychological layers, we can stop judging a book by its cover, like an empty house, and start truly understanding the complex, purposeful lives these men are actually building. I want to leave you with one final, lingering thought today, whether you live alone or not. How comfortable are you with your own solitude? And how is that comfort, or maybe the lack of it, shaping the reality you're choosing to live? Understanding your own relationship with being alone might just be the absolute key to unlocking your personal peace. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.